Welcome back to the Airborne Podcast. We're here with Troy Podmilsak, Quinn,
Chris,
and here talking to Troy about his past experiences. And let's start it off with the X-Games, dude. So X-Games just happened, last week?
Yeah, it happened like a week and a half ago. It was pretty insane just to be there,
And, we saw a lot of new crazy shit happen at the X Games.
Yeah.
We saw you did your first 23, 40 or what,
Yeah,
what even is it now?
well, I tried. I kneed myself in the face, got a little concussion.
Yeah. And, dude, I saw a clip of you that you posted at the top, and we were just talking about it right before we hopped on. How did you conquer that fear? What was that like at the top, and what was the atmosphere like up there at Big Air?
Dude, it was honestly terrible. Like, I did not plan on doing it at all. And then all week I just, reporters would come up and they'd be like, hey, we heard you're going to do this, do the 23, you're going to do the switch 21. I'm like, I never said any of this. And so I didn't think about doing that trick until, literally 5 seconds before. I was sitting in fourth and I was like, well, I kind of have to. And I had this, weird thing going in, on my mind. It was just this is my destiny to land this trick. I knew I probably had a 50-50 of either dying or landing it, and I was like, well, this is the time to make it happen. So there's definitely a part of me that just thought I couldn't not land it, that it was gonna be perfect.
Well, for me, I feel like those big moments, right, where you're in a comp and you never necessarily want to throw a trick for the first time in comp, at least not when you draw it up in your head, but sometimes the environment where you're I know what I want to be in first, I want to be on the podium, and I'm not there right now, and this is how I'm going to get there. It kind of gives you that last little push that you need to go chuck something.
For sure.
And it was kind of funny for me when watching, because there was a nice little behind the scenes video of you and your coaches, and they were kind of almost trying to talk you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed the more they tried to talk you out of it, the more you talked yourself into it, mentally. And I thought that was cool.
Well, it was funny because they thought I was going to do the 25. So we had talked about it a little bit, and we had, about 15, 20 seconds at the top before I needed to go. And I was just pretty much set on doing that trick, the 23. So I didn't really get to explain what I was going to do. So they were like, oh my gosh, he's going to do a 25. So that's why they were kind of talking me out of it. But I just had this weird mental thing. Not even weird. It was just weird self-belief where I just thought I was it was impossible for me not to win that comp.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so is there any regrets going back? Because obviously you didn't quite put it down. You kind of put the knee into the face, which I always tell people the crashes are always a little bit worse in your head when you're imagining them than when they actually happen. But is there any regrets, or are you stoked that you just went and chucked it?
No, because I knew if I didn't try it, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, just knowing what could have been. So I sleep perfectly fine at night knowing that I gave it my all.
Hell yeah, man. So X Games for you guys, right? That's kind of it's been interesting to watch how free skiing has kind of developed, where you've got the Olympics, you've got World Cups. Those are obviously hugely important to you guys. But then you've also got the X Games. Where does that rank for you? Is X Games above World Cups? Is it similar?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's probably below the Olympics for sure.
Will you have an X Games gold medal? And you have a World Champs gold medal. Which one ranks above for you?
Well,
personally?
I thought the World Champs was going to be my favorite of all time. It's my first big win, and it took a lot to get there. But after all of the attention I got after X Games, I was like, yep, it's definitely X Games.
Yeah.
Not even close. I think I grew 10,000 followers overnight. Thousands of messages. It was I had to turn my phone off for 2 days.
Damn, that's actually insane.
Well, and I think that's dope, right? Because it's not what you expected, right? And some of those really cool moments, at least for me in my career, have been when I haven't really expected to kind of get the love, or kind of just when people really show you love for how hard you put out there, how hard you put it out there and stuff. And obviously World Champs is huge, because I remember being out there in Georgia, and I don't know what it was like for you guys, but for us, the weather there was insane.
It was
and so
so
for you
bad.
to put down a trick that big in Worlds, kind of in that moment, I mean, that was Bacarani was a fun place to go. But the weather was just insane
and
there.
So bad.
Going into World Champs, because that was your first big real win.
Yeah.
Were you expecting it, or did it did you know you had the potential, or did it you just put down a big trick and it just everything kind of fell into place?
Yeah, it was a complete Hail Mary. So I woke up that day and the trip 21, no one has done it before. And so it was like this huge debate between like me and my coach, just debating whether I wanted to do it or not. And so I woke up and was like, I'm not doing it. Because I had a dream where I had this like crazy nightmare where I literally got paralyzed doing that trick.
Oh my God.
And the night before, so I wake up, I'm like shivering. And I like go to breakfast, I'm like, I'm not doing it. He's like, you're going to do it and you're going to win. I was like, I don't know. And so I remember walking over to the event. It was like sort of cloudy. And I was just praying the weather got terrible so I didn't have to do it. And then the weather was odd. And the coach is like, all right, go big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's no way. Because I've tried it on airbag before and like landed on my face, pulled off skis. So it was just like a complete Hail Mary. So I couldn't believe it when I landed.
Yeah. And then after you landed, did you know you had it? Like you were like...
Well, yeah, I was like, I just won. And then the score comes in and it was at 91, which is like a really good score. But I was expecting like a 98. So the judges actually scored it as a triple 18 instead of a triple 21. Because they didn't even know I did it.
Are they able to adjust that at all?
Yeah, so they went back and rescored it as a 21. I think it got like a 96.5 or something like that. And so I'm coming up to the top and I'm so bummed. Like, I'm so bummed.
You're like, I just risked everything and I got a 91.
Like, I'm pissed. Like, no, not even pissed. I'm like genuinely like about to cry. Like, I'm so sad. I see my coach go like that and I'm like, maybe they changed the scores. And he comes up and he's like, you just won. And I'm like, no way.
Dude.
So, they went back and changed it.
So you won World Champs first and then... That was in what, freaking December or March, and then
January or something.
January,
I don't know.
and then you parlayed.
I think you guys were both wrong. I'm pretty sure it was in March.
Maybe it was in March or
February.
But
then didn't you go and win X Games after the fact?
No, a year later I won.
X Games.
We all had too much.
Yeah, dude. But so parlaying that, did you have any events in there where you thought you might have had it in between X Games and World Champs,
like
where
the
it's like
21?
Yeah, and it kind of got stolen away from you, or some things happened?
Like not really, because I wasn't skiing like incredibly well. That preseason, like I had good results, but none of the jumps were like big enough to do the 21.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a chance to do it till X Games. I was skiing terrible, like the first 3 laps of X Games.
So your guys' jumps with bigger. Like, our jumps are always almost the exact same, like, give or take, like, a few degrees, and, like, the table is a little longer or shorter, and the in run's a little steeper, but it's always almost the same. So, like, when you show up to a big air site, is it sometimes just, like, the jump is massive, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a huck fest, or is it sometimes, like, you show up and you're like, all right, it's going to be, let's get out those wonky tricks where it's like, hopefully I can get a high score?
Yeah. Like, there's city big airs, which are probably, like, 40. X Games big airs, like, 70, and that's the biggest jump we hit all year. And then they have like a few other ones that are like 45, 50, but it's kind of weird because they call it big air, but they put us on all these small jumps, like where you can't do anything. So you have to do like weird pullbacks or like an 18, and it kind of caps out there, which I think is super lame.
So like Dubai, right? They have that giant jump line. Is that where they have the 2 jump line? Like
yeah.
And I feel like that jump on the right is always massive. You see quads and 23 or 21.
That's like
the
biggest training camp we have.
Yeah, and do they hold a big air event on that jump? Why not?
Because it's too big. I think it was too big for some of the girls. Like, back in the day. I don't know about now. I think they'd be fine. But there's some sort of thing, I think, back in the day where the girls wouldn't be able to hit it.
Huh.
Well, and I think that's kind of like an interesting point of where free skiing is right now. Because one thing with, like, aerials being a little bit older, right, and being around a little longer, one thing that we're kind of seeing is, like, for guys, for the most part, we've maxed out at 5 twists, which I think would be, trip core 25 or something.
There might be some 6 twists coming, though.
It might happen, but it would be...
Dude, we've seen some videos on water that it would be insane, because it's like, have you ever done a suicide flip on a diving board where you literally just, like, hold until you hit? It's basically that, but for spinning. It's just wrap and just hold until you hit. Do you guys even
spot at all during that?
In a 5 twist, yeah, we'll spot usually at least at one point in the 3
like how long though do you get to like actually see
like a quarter of a second, like if even that. Like you get 2-1-2, which is 5. So it's double full, full, double full. You go double full, you lose it, and then you snap around in the second flip, and you get a quick peep at it,
Like
and
right
then
before you go.
and
yeah.
then you go into the next double full, and that's the only so you're basically just going off a feeling, that quick peep, and your coach's call.
Yeah.
But the calls for us are like a huge part
Do
of
you
it.
even hear that?
Oh hell yeah!
I don't hear
It depends.
anything.
It depends. Like sometimes my coach will scream something, and I'll hear it clear as day. And then sometimes he'll scream something, and I'll be like, dude, I did not hear.
But I would say, like, on a big trick, like a 5, I'm kind of listening for him because I know that I'm not going to really see it. So, like, it's not something where you're, like, making your decisions off of it, but it, like, helps. It helps, like, confirm up how you might feel a little bit. Yeah. Just that little bit, which kind of helps. Because for us, like, we pick different ranges, right? So, like, I might do a quint with my arms down if I feel like I need to flip a little bit faster, because it's all for us. It's all about staying straight, right? So we don't want to bend the knees. Those are all deductions for us. So like I might pick my range purely just trying to stay straight, and so like might do it with my arms down at my side, like kind of near my pockets, or I could do it all the way with my hands completely above my head, and that can be helped with the call. Where if the coach is kind of yelling stretch like out there, you might throw your fucking arms up, still doing the same trick, but we kind of have a bunch of different ways to do it based on how fast it is or how fast we're flipping off the jump, because we're going straight over. But one thing I was saying about the girls, and because free skiing is, at least in my opinion, it's taken huge leaps in the last like 5 years, even, and maybe even a little longer than that. But like really in the last like in the last cycle of like the Olympics, where you guys are throwing tricks that are just absolutely insane.
It's gotten crazy, like very out of hand, very fast.
Exactly, and I think you guys are gonna find that cap. Like for aerials, the one thing, like quads are banned, quad flips.
Well, it's not even quads. It's just the amount of rotation, so you can only do like.
No, it's quad flips.
Quad flips are banned.
And the reason is because we had, really it was like the late 90s, a bunch of dudes went up and did a bunch of quads, and they all got hurt. There wasn't a single person that like made it out.
If you go back in the YouTube videos, the YouTube archives, dude, there
insane.
are so many videos of people doing quads like to their necks or to their face, and it's also like you got to go so much bigger for the quad because you just need so much more time, and dude, those impacts.
Because
so
we're
much
still
heavier.
trying to do a quad straight, not pulling, not bending your knees at all. But one thing I was saying about the girls is like in free skiing, it feels like there's still a little bit of a gap between the females and the guys where it's like pretty big. Versus right now, like in this event here we're going to do at Deer Valley, we've got girls that are doing triple twisting triples in the event.
And so is that like a sev?
Yeah, quarter.
And they'll
sicko.
And they'll go do it. And we've had girls that have done full double full, which is 4 twists and 3 flips. So like sev, 10 sev. And that's like a thing that's happened, but multiple different chicks. And so it's kind of like with the sport being around longer, the girls have kind of caught up a little bit.
Because you guys have already hit that cap.
Exactly.
Well, I feel like the girls are definitely kind of closing up the gap a little bit with free ski, because we've seen some triples. We've seen, it's just, dude, the amount of spins and stuff that you guys are doing now too, and some guys, I see quads out there. Do you think that like slopestyle will get capped? Like, where do you think that will happen? Because I'm kind of thinking, I've seen quads and I've seen them successfully done, and you guys are at 23. What is it? 2300.
2340.
Yeah, 2340. So that's like where you guys are at now. Where do you think like slopestyle big air will cap out at?
I think slopestyle will cap out at like 21s, and I think big air will probably go to like, I bet you we'll see like a 26 in probably like 10 years, 15 years maybe.
You think even that long, dude? With how the little kids that are coming up and literally just hucking like,
I don't know, like.
It's just it is getting insane from our perspective.
Dude, you did your first
26.
When did you do your first triple? I feel like you did dumb
like when I was 12.
Yeah, like dude, and Walker too. Like
he was 12.
Like dude, the young kids push the sport crazy, and then like you guys are like 18, and you guys already have like 21s and
it's kind of happened in aerials, and it took a little bit of a long time where like you'll see the first quint twist was thrown in 02, which is kind of a long time ago now. Yeah. But it used to be a thing where like 1 or 2 dudes would throw one like every 4 years in the Olympics or some shit. Just like
just some crazy.
Just some dude. And like, Speedy Peterson was super, famous for doing the hurricane. But back then he was like one of the only dudes in the world that could do a quint twist or that would even try one. Nowadays, and I kind of feel burned by this.
Dude, Lake Placid, we showed up training day for like second day of training. Freaking the second group is training in front of us. Dude, we show up to the site. there were 3 5s thrown in the last 10 minutes of training. In training, we were just like,
That's insane. I don't
like
see like the purpose of doing that in training. It just seems so like sicko.
Well, because we kind of got to do it perfect. There's like a really weird criteria around it, you know, and not even weird because like for us, but like aerials, it's like it's all about perfection. So you do want to train those tricks. Like I've done probably 50 quints in training, and I've only competed it 4 or 5 times.
Gosh, that sounds terrible, dude.
But like, you know, so it's, but where I was kind of going with this, I got a little burned where when I was growing up watching people, it would be like, all right, if you did a quint and you landed it, you'll win the Olympics, right? And nowadays, you might not even be on the podium, and there's like 10, 12 people in an event, you know, where we're going into where they all will do a quint if they get to that super final round. And so I'm kind of burned because I remember when like in 2020 when I did my first quint, I was like, all right, I made it. Like I can win the Olympics.
Yeah.
And like I was able to do a quint in the Olympics and like win. But nowadays it's barely even cool anymore. We're seeing like 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Quinn just did his first quints last year. Took a little bit of a body shot on him, blew his knee. But like you know, like everybody does it. And so I'm kind of sitting there. I'm like, man, when I was growing up, I thought that I would be done when I hit this. Now people are like, Chris, are you gonna do 6? I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, are you kidding me? I'm gonna
dude, the
die.
candy cane, bro.
I talked about it for a little bit, but then as I kind of like started to do quints more regularly, I grew a little bit more respect for it, and I'm like, there is no way to do this without literally risking a hospital trip every single time.
Well, you seen Dima doing triple down? Because one of the guys, he did full, triple full, so that's like cork 7, cork 7,
14.
cork 14.
That's just like insane.
Yeah.
Like I don't get the spots during that.
Like, yeah, he was basically like, I'll show you the clip after, but he's basically like full, and then just rips it. Did that make you think it was like slightly more possible?
It did, but like Dima would probably be the first person to tell you that like he did it in training. This was not
he did that at the EOP.
Wait, he landed it?
Yeah,
he
dude,
did
he
land
landed
it.
first one ever.
This is not on water ramps.
No, this was
on
up at the
snow.
EOP. This was like literally 100 yards up the hill.
That's sicko.
But like, he knows he's risking his like absolute, not his life. That's a little aggressive, but his
it
health,
sort of
his
is,
health.
though.
You know, like straight up, like he could be like messed up for the rest of his
For
life.
sure.
And so, you know, I kind of watched that. I'm like, honestly, it was more like tip the cap. Like I was just like, yo, if you want to be doing that, like that's dope. But,
Yeah.
like.
I'm good on that.
So with the, like, now the slope style is hucking, but you guys also have like the pullbacks and like the kind of wonky tricks.
Yeah.
And going into that a little bit, like, where do you think that's kind of originating from? Do you think that's kind of like going back to like the roots of slopestyle where it's more style based, or do you think it's just trying to do new things, or like where do you think that's kind of originating from in that movement?
I think I have like a pretty hard take on it. I think it's really cool. I've done pullbacks. I think it's awesome. But I think the real reason people are trying to push it so hard is because they're terrified of doing bigger spins. And so it's kind of a way to like keep up without having to do those massive spins, because it kind of takes like a crazy person to be like, you know what, like, yeah, I am going to do like a 21 or a 23. Like, it's not like normal. And I feel like a lot of people just are absolutely terrified of that. And that, I think it's really cool, but after doing it, it's just not as hard. It's
because I've seen some of your clips, and you've got some wonky.
Yeah.
You've
Well,
done
and
some
I think
wonky crap.
I was kind of telling you, like as an aerialist, right? Like I look at those tricks and I think they're really cool, and it's kind of like a cool thing, but it's more like exploring like different ways to twist and different ways to like use your body to twist. But I also kind of just know that they're not nearly as hard, and they're not nearly as scary.
No.
Because, you know, if you know how to do it, if you have a pretty good understanding of how to do it.
Yeah, because you're like contorting.
You don't
your
have to take
body,
the
like,
same speed.
Yeah.
You don't have to take the same risk. And you
That's
can
the thing, is risk factor should be a criteria, because it's like, if I fall on a 23, it doesn't matter how good you land. If you fall on it, you're gonna get jacked up. Like, if I fall on like a pullback that's only a 900 or a 1260, like, you're not gonna get, like, the force isn't that hard. You don't have to go as big. Like, risk factor is a huge thing that I think should be scored.
And that's kind of scored, like, we kind of have that in aerials where it's like the degree of difficulty is just always factored in. And so, like, if you fall on a 5 twist first, you fall on a triple twisting, triple backflip, like, you could get technically scored higher on a fallen quint twist than like a landed triple twist,
Yeah.
which is like, it's just kind of factored into like
Well,
how
and
our
really the
judging
degree of
is done.
difficulty just over the years, it makes more sense. Like the hardest trick that's done in our sport is the hurricane, and we all know that. And the reason is it's 7-14-7. We kind of just talked about 7-7-14. Nobody's ever done that. I mean, he's insane, but that's the one that you see or that you'll see, and we all know, like, even though double in double out is also 5 twists, it's not as hard.
Just because of that spotting in the 14.
Well, just because you go to do a 14 and you don't hit it right, you can't get out of it, and you're gonna get broken up, and you're gonna like lose
Like,
it.
dude, we watched Dima last week in Canada do it in a ball because it was nuking, like
Is this what you're talking about
windy
before?
as hell.
Yeah.
And dude, he goes up and rips the hurricane. We knew he was like the Ukrainians.
Dude, I
are
literally was watching him
crazy.
do it, and I'm like watching him visualize it. I'm like, dude, you have no chance. And he still did it, which is like a huge threat. But I'm like, you have no chance.
No chance. And like goes up, like kind of buckles it, and then does 3 twists in a ball, which is like almost impossible. Gets it around somehow, and like somewhat makes it to his feet, and
he
doesn't land it.
He
but
didn't like eat shit as hard as he could have.
Yeah.
But like up top, I was just like watching him. I was just like, are you like crazy, dude? Because it's not
Guy
like.
just doesn't care.
Dude, I
I was just like, you have no chance of doing this.
Yeah, I went up to
So
him after the
funny.
comp, and I was like, dude, you have cojones of steel, like big old balls. Like, and he's like, thank you. Just like,
just doesn't care.
dude, just doesn't care. And he was pissed at himself because he didn't like do it how he wanted to. And all of us were just like, bro, they were like the best jumper in the world. Backed off to a full. He went from quad twisting to triple twisting because it like the weather was so gnarly there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like there were multiple athletes that did that. And this guy went up and just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go do
Just
5
doesn't
because
even
that was my
care.
plan." Yeah, and just went up and did it. And
But it was kind of like, I was just like, do you hate yourself? Like, I was like, you just don't
So
like
awesome,
yourself a
dude.
little bit. But kind of going into, and I think we're kind of backtracking a little bit, but I think it's a good segue into that, right? Because in the X Games, you were kind of talking about, you got to ask the question, like, are you shaking because you're cold or are you shaking because you're scared? And I felt like you answered that in a really real way. And, just kind of like asking you, like, how do you deal with fear? Like, is there something, because a lot of people assume that extreme sports athletes just are crazy or aren't scared. And, that guy Demon we've been talking about, he might be crazy. I don't know. But most of us, I would say, we are scared. We're terrified up there. And I kind of just tell people usually, like, we're just a little better at being scared than the average bear, where, like, most people will be like, oh, I'm so scared, I'm not going to do it. And, like,
Yeah.
sometimes that can even force you into doing something. Because I don't know about you, but, like, when I'm really torqued up about a trick, or like quints or whatever I'm going to go do, sometimes that makes me do it faster. Because I'm like,
Exactly,
I got to
yes.
get it over with.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to be thinking about this all night. So,
Like,
like,
don't want to think, just go.
so like right before you're in the gate and you know you're going to try something gnarly and you know there's at least a good to fair chance that you're going to like mess yourself up, like, what do? How do you deal with it?
I just completely try to like zone out where I'm just like not even there. Just go on like autopilot mode. So just like literally keep my mind so blank. Don't even think about the trick. Just completely just I'm not even like a real person is what I like try to tell myself. Like, this doesn't exist. Like it's
just an entity.
Yeah, pretty much. Like just try to keep like pretty empty.
Well, and like, I think that that's probably a good way to deal with it. And I'm kind of just thinking about for myself, right? Because I always tell myself, especially when I'm really nervous about it, I'm like, well, as soon as I turn my skis, I'm not going to be scared anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Dude,
No,
the
that is
hardest part
true.
is like the hop turn or dropping
Yeah.
in. Like once you're, I feel like in it, you're just
You
committed.
don't even care.
Yeah.
You're in
like,
war
you're just-
mode, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you don't care what happens to you. Yeah, I do kind of sort of think about that. When I'm coming into the jump, there is no fear. It's literally just right before. But as soon as you drop into that run, it's kind of gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
like
think
I'm just
back
like,
to-
so I just kind of
I've
focus on like, I can't wait to turn my skis.
Yeah.
I've heard this thing from a Navy SEAL that did this podcast, and he's like, dude, before I'd breach a building or something, he'd say like 3 things like execute, execute, execute. And I feel
Yeah.
like that kind of like, when I'm like going into the thing, I'm just like execute, execute, execute. Like,
Yeah.
And like, I focus on like one thing right at the beginning, and then after that, I go into autopilot where it's like, I don't think about anything. And it's just like my takeoff. Like when I'm like going down, I'm just like, all right, don't be a freaking just rip this takeoff and just get it going. And like that's That's what I'm telling myself, like, going down the end run. Like,
well, we've done this so many times where I feel like if you think about it too much, it's just going to fuck you up, you know? Like, if you literally just come in, your body is going to take over and do it pretty much is kind of how I feel like it.
Well, and I'm just like, it's going to go how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And really the torturous part is like the night before or the or the day before or like at breakfast when you're like trying to put something.
At breakfast is the worst. When you're training, actually doing the training, like the contest training, that's like fine. You get like so much confidence back. But before you put your skis on, it is the worst.
I was feeling that in Canada, dude. We were like on the drive over because they had like a 30-minute drive over, and I was just like so anxious. I had this like feeling in my stomach, and then as soon as I started getting ready, it kind of started feeling better. Yep. And as soon as I went and did my first jump, gone. I was just like, all right, we're in comp mode. Like, we're good. We're focused. We're locked in. Yeah. And it's just kind of weird how like the anticipation of it is what gives you the anxiety about it.
Sure.
It's like it's weird.
Because like I'd almost rather just like eat shit and get it over with than like sit there and think about it all the time. And that's what I think, you know, when I was saying like it kind of pushes you to go faster or to do it quicker. Yeah. Because I'm just like, I just want to send it. Like, I know I'm going to do it, or at least I think I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to try and do it. So I just want to go. Like, I just want to do it. Over with. But then once you get out there, you start skiing, you start like doing your warm-up jumps, then it's like you kind of weirdly like feel a lot better about it.
Just chill out.
It's like breakfast, man. Breakfast. That's the one.
That is the worst. You can't eat. You're like trying to like put stuff down your stomach. You're like,
I need energy, I need calories, but my stomach is the farthest thing from hungry.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so like going into the rest of the season for you, you're dealing with a little concussion. I think you're playing it smart. You had a good head about it when you were talking about it, where it's like, it's the second head hit that kind of hits you. You know what I mean? You want to play it safe, and there's going to be more World Cups. But like, what are you looking forward to the end of the year? Where are you guys for your World Championships?
That is in March, and I've already secured a spot just because I won last time, so I get an automatic invite, which is pretty nice. But yeah, that's definitely the event I want to go back and win.
Where is that in the world? Do you know?
Silva Plana.
I don't even know where the hell that is.
It's like Switzerland.
Where are you guys staying? We're in St. Moritz.
We're in St. Moritz.
Yeah. It's still across from St. Moritz.
Awesome.
Wait, so we're all going to be there?
Yeah.
That's going to be lit.
Yeah, in the end of March.
Yeah.
It's nice because it's kind of the ritzier place in the
world.
world.
So bougie.
Dude, it is crazy. Like, you're driving around there, dude. The Ferraris, dude, all the designer stores, like Rolls Royces. Dude, I was bummed. Last time we went, 2 years ago, we missed this car show where there was like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cars, and it was like on the lake. It's like St. Moritz is like famous for it, and we missed it by like 2 days. And I was like, dude, like,
he's so bummed.
But yeah, St. Moritz is always one of St. Moritz. We've only been there once, but it was super cool.
I've got like a James Bond fantasy for St. Moritz. They've got this casino at the top.
Dude, I went to it.
You went in?
Wait. Where is it? I went to the one in town.
Yeah, it's like in town.
Yeah.
But
Do you
it's
have to
like
wear a suit to get in?
No.
Really?
No, I just brought like my passport, and they were like super sus about it though. They were
because you weren't wearing a suit.
They were like, "What are you guys doing?" And like they didn't let in half of our crew, but then let half of us in. It was super weird.
So they were probably like trying not to get you guys to come. But I'm like, I'm gonna wear a suit like freaking James Bond. Go in there, hopefully win some prize money at the event.
Yes.
Go throw down some money.
I think one year, I wasn't on the team at this point, but apparently, you guys know Gus Kenworthy?
Yeah.
Apparently, he won the comp there, then put it all on black and won.
Yo, that's kind of baller.
Isn't that insane? I've heard about this. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard
that's baller.
That.
Dude,
that is pretty baller.
That's some speedy type shit where like you just go.
That's insane. Now it's like kind of my fantasy to go and do that exact same thing. Like, go clutch up a medal and then put it all in black or something.
That's crazy.
Well, and I don't know about for you guys. Like, you guys obviously have some pretty good prize money events with X Games and things like that. But for me, you know, prize money is always awesome, but it's not really something that like factors into my mind that much.
No, not at all.
Because like I'm all about like just the moments.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Just that moment where you stick. And then I always get stoked, like, whatever, a few weeks later or whatever.
You're thinking about it.
You're like, oh, sweet. That's also dope. But I never think about it. So it's like, the place where I would be most likely to do some dumb shit like that would be like right after I won a big event. Because I'm like, I wasn't planning on having any of this. Like, I'm just going to go throw it down. But that's a legendary story.
It's insane.
So
I don't know if I can top that.
We have some pretty cool stops. Like I was telling you before, Deer Valley's kind of like our X Games of the year.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl. Yeah, the Super Bowl of aerial skiing for us. I feel like at least U.S. athletes because the crowd's always massive. Dude, just the environment is insane. Where on your tour is stops like that? Like where?
outside of the X Games.
Yeah,
Because
outside of the
obviously
X
that's like a given.
Core, it's in Switzerland. It's like a scaffolding jump, city big air, huge crowd, like 10,000 people. It's pretty insane. I actually got a medal there like 3 years ago maybe, and it was like actually the best night of my life. Like, it was insane. Core's definitely a huge one. I think Teens France would be a pretty big one. It's hard to think about. I think most of the U.S. events are pretty chapped for us, to be completely honest.
Is there a reason for that, or?
I don't know. I think it's just bigger in Europe. And I think if you ever get a city big air, any of those are big.
Yeah, those are fun. We've done some really cool ones in Moscow before.
Yeah, did the Moscow.
We don't go right now, obviously. But like they do the scaffolding kind of same thing.
Yeah, it's like overlooking Moscow.
Yeah.
Like the city skyline is out there while you're jumping. It's gangster.
People get pretty jacked up for that one, so that's always a lot of fun.
I think they need to do a Salt Lake City big air. I think that would go off.
Yeah.
Well, we need some dough for that, but that sounds like some fun for sure.
Dude, hopefully if they get a baseball team in a baseball stadium, put it in the stadium.
I was thinking just put it in the youth stadium.
Yeah, honestly, true. Yeah.
Hey, dude, let's build
an
aerial jump right next to it. We'll go right next to you guys.
Sick. Imagine running 2 events at the same time.
Dude, but they've done that in was it Beijing or was it Moscow where they did the big air and then they changed it. It was Moscow, but the old scaffolding site, right? Where it was a big air site that they turned into an aerial site, and the table, since you guys' sites are a little bit different, like a little bit. I feel like it was still pretty steep, but your table's longer. So like the aerial guys showed up, and this table was like stupid long for us. So we typically hit a jump at like 65 kilometers an hour, like give or take, like what we do a triple at. And dude, I heard that these guys were going into the
72.
triple, like 72, 73, because you just lose all the speed in the flat.
in the flat belly.
But like, dude, it's been done before. We can make it happen again.
That would be sick.
Like. Let's make it happen. If anyone that's listening has any connections with the Rice-Eccles Stadium, please let us build a scaffolding site there.
Well, and like one thing that it's always been funny for me, because I grew up freestyle, right? And so I wasn't as much like park guy, mostly because I sucked at it. I never had steez in my entire life. Like even when I was a little kid, I was freaking never had
steez is weird. It's like hard to know what is stylish. I guess you can kind of see it. Like with like a lot of these like swervy guys,
but like kind of grew up into that, and like so I love all the sports, like all the free skiing sports. But like it's kind of funny to me, anyways, because a lot of times at like the lower level, I'm talking like little groms that do like 360s in the park and stuff like that. They usually kind of chirp Quinn and I up on our stuff.
Dude. Like if I post a video on TikTok, dude. The little kids love
they chirp us.
Dude, I hate ski talk. It's actually people are so dumb on that, like on TikTok. They're like, "What trick is?"
But the big thing that's always funny is like the top guys, right? And I'm thinking like of you, of Colby, of Nick Gepper. We all like kind of respect each other's shit pretty good for the most part.
You don't see any top guys really talking. Right?
No, because it's like and I think that when you're going and you're throwing trip 21s and 18s and shit like that. There's no way I'm going to see somebody do that and not have respect for it, because I know exactly like how many spins that is, how hard that is to do. And I kind of feel like it goes the other way where it's like you're not going to see someone throw a quint twisting triple backflip and be like, "Yo, that's lame." Like what? Like it's kind of
I also feel like you see it on camera, and then when people actually go and see it in person and see how high we're going, or like, seeing how big it is and the maneuvers, like they shut up real quickly. Like when you actually see it in person.
Because there's so many crashes. Like I've done, like I told you, I've done like 50 quints in my life. I've probably only landed like 25 of them.
That is like really scary to think about. You're like, okay, it's 50-50. Like
on a good day. And like honestly, the days that I don't like absolutely destroy myself doing it, like I'll sometimes crash on it and still be like, all right, well, that wasn't that bad. Like expose, like I did one last year where I still don't exactly know what happened because I rung my bell so hard.
Oh my gosh.
But like came off the jump, missed the takeoff, missed the ground, missed everything, was lost, and my feet were like flying apart. I landed backwards, like kind of on my head.
No.
And dude, just like smashed.
You did a 2340, dude.
Yeah, but our skis aren't exactly built for that. And I didn't get close to landing it. I absolutely died on this thing. And like,
well, dude, you caught like I've seen the video. I don't know. Have you seen the video?
Yeah,
I have it.
Yeah,
maybe we'll stitch it. But
God, I don't want to watch it.
I kind of want to see this video
dude,
now.
but like, dude, you landed backwards, and then instead of like, you know, when you land switch and like the landing's there, and like you land like your skis are parallel, like your skis caught backwards and slung you into the hill. Like it accelerated you when you caught your tails.
Dude, I didn't know much about anything for
And
a
you
few days
didn't
after
remember that?
Well, I remember it, but like in a way that you remember a dream.
Yeah. Oh,
Where
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I know what happened, but I actually cannot like
Yeah.
place. Like I don't have like an actual vivid memory
Yeah.
of it, which is probably good for me to not really remember it that well. But like I think about those ones, it's like those are the ones I'm scared of.
Yeah.
I'm not really scared of like kind of washing out or a little
For
bit
sure.
like that. Like those are kind of like wins. They're not going to win a competition or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, I
but,
feel like that's a good segue
at least I survived.
into like spotting, where it's like for us, like we were saying, we like spot almost all of our tricks. So it's like if you do a full, like we like right off the jump, we pick up the ground and we don't lose it. And like for quad twist, we lose it for a second. Quint twist, we lose it for a little bit longer. But we almost always pick up the ground and see it. Like with slope, do you guys like actually look at the ground and locate where you guys are at, or is it just
sure, yeah.
more feeling?
For sure, but when you're doing a 21 or like whatever, higher rotation, it's more like feel. So I think a lot of us are really, really good at knowing how big we're going to go. And we're also really good at controlling our pop. And like, have you ever seen like motocross where they like do the little shift thing, whatever? Like,
Yeah,
they,
the
like
little
scrape
whip
off
around.
speed.
Yeah,
Yeah. They like scrape off speed, you know, like we're good at like, you know, controlling how big we go. And so I pretty much know exactly where I'm going to land every time, like before I'm even gone off the jump. So it's pretty much that feeling. And if you know where you're going to land, you know how hard you need to set, how hard you need to pop, and like where you're going to be in like what part of the rotation.
Yeah.
So we'll spot for a little bit, but it's not as big as like, you don't really need it.
Well, because I'm kind of like just building off that, just thinking about it. Like, do you ever ski into the jump and you're planning on going for something huge, and then you're like, oh god,
Yeah, I'm gonna
not-
die.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm not. So what do you do there? Do you bail off it, or do you like just kind of commit and like smash?
It depends. Most of the time you bail. Like you'll just do like a dub 10 or something if you're going to go short. If you're going to go huge, you cannot bail because then you're actually going to die. So you just got to like kind of hope that you make it to your feet and then you'll like take it to your back or whatever to your side. So
Because
that's
like
like
sometimes
the
for
best
us,
case scenario.
like I'll just be skiing in right, and I'll kind of get into the flat right before, and I'm like, oh,
This is
God.
Yeah,
bad.
this is
bad.
Dude, there have been
But like
jumps.
we
where-
don't really
yeah.
bail off it in
Nah,
aerials.
dude.
Very,
Very,
very seldomly.
Very rare. For
And
like
so
a
like
jump
sometimes
bail.
I just kind of commit to the smash,
Yeah.
where I'm like just like in the air. I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna like just eat it.
It's better to commit when you're going big. I would say
Yeah.
when you're going small, bail. Go ahead, go do a 10, go do a 14.
Yeah, dude, some of the worst feelings I've ever had is like standing up in the table and just knowing you're slow. And like you're just hoping, like for us, because we have that null pile built up on the backside, so you're just like, I hope I make it over, or the knuckle for you guys. Like you're just like, I hope I make it over the knuckle. And there have been times where I knew I wasn't, and you still just.
The worst is when you're in a contest and you have to land that jump and you know you're not going to make it or you know you're going too big. And it's like, well, I kind of have to go for it, like, and then you just gotta hope that you like somehow make it.
How much do you like really hang out with your homies up there while you're training and competing? Do you feel like it gets pretty
lot.
intense up there, or are you guys just chilling?
Never. It is so weird. When I first joined the team, I was kind of like, fuck these guys, like they're being so fake, like they're way too nice, like I don't get it, like they're definitely like fucking with me. And then whatever, a year goes by, a year and a half, I'm like, oh my gosh, like these guys are genuinely like the nicest people I've ever met, and they're not fucking with me. Like they're fucking awesome. And so it's like such a weird vibe competing against like your best friends.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like very similar in all extreme sports, because like all of our best friends are just like people that we jump with and train with all the time. And then like usually like there's like very seldomly, but usually like if you see like somebody else, even if they're from another country or whatever, like throw some shit that you like know is crazy for them, you're just kind of like, dude, I'm stoked for you, because like that was insane. And like so like I've noticed that a lot of times, even just in interviews or when people are asking me stuff, they almost try and build the competitive part of it way more, where it's like,
well, you have to a little bit.
yeah,
for sure.
it's, you know, it's like where they're like, oh, like, do you guys like really think about it, or how do you guys get along up there? I'm like, oh, we're all like homies, especially like on a bad weather day or something that's off. It's like you just like we're all trying to make it out of here alive, man.
Trying to walk away at the end of the day.
It's so weird. It's just like I'm stoked to see my friends do well, and it's like it was the hardest thing for me to like kind of get over because I just thought it was going to be so competitive, and it's just not at all.
But I still think it is competitive though in its own way, where it's like you obviously want it, but like I don't know. There's those moments, right, where like you watch someone and you watch them beat you, and you watch them beat you straight up, and you just know that you got beat, totally fair, and you're kind of weirdly stoked for them, because like you know how hard it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't easy. That wasn't given. That wasn't something like you can't just go out in an Aerials World Cup or an X Games or in a Freeski World Cup and just like fake it. Yeah. Fake the W. Yeah. Usually you got to put the body on the line, and like I don't know. There's just a lot more respect about that, and like I just like all my best friends are just fellow huckers, just people that huck and like risk it.
I think it's so
risk
cool.
it for the biscuit.
I mean, obviously we all want to win, but like I think like I'd be stoked to see like I don't know, like one of the Americans go and win something. It's super sick. Like it's not good for me, but it's like I hang out with them all the time, and genuinely I'm like super stoked to see them do well.
Well, plus I think once you get to a guy like your level, like I don't know, man, like you're gonna be where you want to be. You're gonna end up where you need to end up.
For
like,
sure.
I'm not worried about you making the Olympics as much as you still have to earn that, right? We all do. Quinn and I gotta like nobody's qualified for the Olympics right now,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like if you're willing to risk it like you do on a regular basis, or like go put down those huge tricks, generally barring injury, you're going to end up where you need to be, and you're going to be in those big moments. So I don't know, it helps not to really like stress out about it too much.
Yeah, and it's like when I'm not going to be mad if somebody beats me, because it's like, well, I did the best I could do, and it's not like they were trying to specifically like I'm going to crush Troy today or like whatever. It's like I'm just trying to land the best run I can do and do well.
I feel like so you said it like you're competing against yourself at the
exactly.
end of the day. Like
it's like, only you. So like if like whatever Mac comes up and he like throws down a hammer run and beats me, it's like, well, Mac's run was better. Like he just skied better, you know, and I did the best I could do. Like I'm not gonna be mad.
It's really those young bucks that aren't really at that level yet. Those are the ones that kind of get
they get a little chippy
when they're chirping you from that. It's like, dude, you don't even know. You don't even know. Like and like you know, I'll kind of like I'm not gonna call anybody out, but like I'm just thinking of like some younger athletes like, oh, Chris, are you going to go do this today? Oh, Chris, are you going to go do this today? Are you going to go? I'm like, dude, I have done things that would literally destroy your brain. Don't even ask
on and
me.
off the snow.
Like your whole brain would be destroyed if you were like, and the reason I know that is because it destroyed my brain.
Yeah.
Like I was like freaking out. And so it's like those, but like once people get to a certain level of like just chucking, you're like, oh, dude,
the
you know what it's about.
The insecurity is just completely gone.
Yeah.
Because you just know you're, like, one of the best. And it doesn't matter, like, you know, if people beat you. Because you're still one of the best.
Plus, it always takes a little bit of luck when we're doing the stuff.
For sure.
That we're doing.
It's anybody's day, really. There's, like, I'd say 15 guys. And any one of those guys could win a World Cup. It's just whoever skis well that day.
Well, because like so for aerials in the last Olympics, we kind of had like the team event, and then we had the individual event, and it was kind of an interesting thing.
The team event is pretty sick.
I love it. I love it because
that'd be pretty cool to see Big Air like implement that, like two guys, one girl.
Well, because you got your homies and like people that you know well, that you train well, and like everybody's trying not to let the other person down. So it's kind of like you're jumping for your friends a little bit, and you're not jumping for yourself. I find myself being more nervous in the team events than I am in an individual.
For sure.
Because I'm like,
especially, dude, how was being so in World Champs and the Olympics, you were the second jumper, so how was being the anchor in Lake Placid? Did that affect you a little bit?
I would say not, and I think that you would know not in that event. And I'm
because
not saying
I'd already messed up.
No, it's but you saw what we did. We did punch fronts,
yeah.
And so for that, those are like basically sticks, and you just kind of like fall over the top. So it's not some massive mistake that I made. Yeah. It's more just like kind of popped out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna be honest, in that one, not really, but like I do like going second for the most part because it kind of lets me just go like rip like the best jump because I don't know what's gonna happen with the third jumper yet. So I kind of just can go like go try and do something like super sick. And I don't have to like kind of think about it because that anchor position, like I put two of my teammates, Justin and Quinn, in Worlds. all Quinn had to do was land his jump, and we win. Just from where we were at. And same
You
thing
guys
with
did
Justin.
win, right?
We did win in
Yeah.
Worlds, and then we won in the Olympics. We kind of broke our streak in Lake Placid. We
Yeah,
had a good
dude.
streak going. But I kind of put him in those situations where all you got to do is do a nice, solid jump. But that's sometimes harder.
Oh, for sure.
Dude.
Where somebody's like,
Right.
all you got to do is land a dub 10 and you win.
Like-
I might mess up with that.
Like, dude, I was going down in World Champs, and I was like, Quinn, just hit a takeoff, hit a takeoff, hit a takeoff. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. And I stand up, and I was like, and then I get into it, and like I come in the landing, and I land like a little back seat, and I'm like wheeling it, and I fight for it, and I brought it back up, and we got the score that we ended up needing. But
Oh
dude,
my
I
gosh.
fought for that jump so hard, and like because I knew that all I needed to do was basically land like a semi-straight quad twisting triple
I
backflip.
couldn't imagine, the pressure.
But, like, it's also it's the pressure, right? But it's all from yourself a little bit where, like, Quinn and I are friends. I'm never going to, like, come at him and be like, dude, you blew it for us. Because,
sure.
like, I
'Cause
know
he's trying.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to win just as bad as I want to win. That's not a real thing, but in your head, you kind of feel that pressure where you're like, I really don't want to mess it up for my friends. But then, where I was going with at the Olympics was I had the experience of winning the Olympics and the experience of losing the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
In the same week where we did the team event.
How much more did that hurt, you think, because you won?
It was, honestly, well, here's two things. One, it was the most disappointing jump I've ever done in my life. One, because you just never know you're going to be back there again. You never know if you're going to get, like, even like in World Cups and stuff like that, and even World Champs, you know you're going to get it. Like, if you want it, you get another shot at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus the Olympics, they're 4 years apart. You got to get all the way to that last round. You got to kind of be in position to take a winning jump. And so it'll never. But the one thing it kind of made me realize, right, was both of them were Quints. Same trick, pretty much the same situation. And for me, I felt roughly the same amount good about them. You know what I mean? Like, I felt really good before the team event one, and I felt really good before the individual one. And so that's where it's like I've had a little bit more respect for, like, just a little bit of magic, you know what I mean? A little bit of luck almost.
Yeah.
Where it's like there really was no discernible difference between me as an athlete between those two rips. It was really just one I didn't quite nail it, and the other one I did, but I felt good about it, like coming down. And so it kind of just gave me a little bit more respect for those big moments and how it's like you put all the work in, but like there's so many guys that put that work in. And
Everyone does, yeah.
The ones that I've missed, like I've had a lot of jumps where I missed and I was like, oh, I didn't do it right. I didn't think right. I didn't push right. But like those two rips, like I was like in a very similar headspace. And so it just kind of like made me gain a little bit of respect for when you get those really cool moments, kind of enjoy them, because it's not like sometimes the world's just got to be looking out for you. You need a little universe, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And like kind of like how you were just describing your X Games rip, where like you felt it. You felt it.
I was like, this is my moment to break like skiing right now. And it didn't work.
And
but
it doesn't. No, but like, if you can manage to go in for the next time you go try to break the world and break skiing with that same confidence, I guarantee you there's a very good shot that the next time is the right time. And like,
you just never know when
you just
you're gonna
never
get that
know
time.
so you just got to go try. And, like,
I've had so
put it
many
down.
times where I've done so many Hail Marys, and it seems like that was like the first Hail Mary that genuinely didn't work out. Like out of like probably like 10.
Yeah.
Like somehow I've landed like 9 Hail Marys, and it's like insane. And then that was the one that finally got me, but it was still like cool having those other experiences because it brings like so much confidence.
And it's almost kind of like that gambler's mentality a little bit, where like you always believe you're gonna win that next bet.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Always.
Yeah.
You always think you're gonna win. Like I always think that this is the moment,
For sure.
and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not.
It's funny because I was like, we know we're going to fall at some point, right?
Yeah.
But it's just
guaranteed.
always, you're going to fall. We're going to fucking eat shit, like, again in our careers, for sure. But it's always not on this jump. This jump I'm going to land.
Yeah.
But it's like eventually that will take you off. But it's such like a crazy like mentality that we all have. It is kind of like a gambler's thing. It's like, we're not going to lose this time. We're going to win on this jump.
Even if you know, like I know a Quint for me is 50-50.
Yeah.
But in comp, I feel like it's 100%. Like it's
For
always
sure.
going to go.
We're like, yeah, this is chill.
Yeah, like it's gonna go. It's definitely gonna go because I'm. And then you like look back, and you're like, man, I can't believe that didn't work out.
Yeah, you're like, you're almost in like denial a bit. You're like, I mean, after the X Games, I was super concussed, but I get down to the bottom. I don't really remember anything. And I do remember thinking that I won, though. In the athlete lounge, I'm like, I won, right? And they're like, no. I was like, second. No. Third. No. Fourth? Yeah. Like, why did I decide to get fourth? Like, no way.
I thought you were like, I decided to get fourth.
It reminded me of like, you ever seen Zoolander?
Yeah.
He comes up to get it, like this medal. That could have been me. I got out of there fast though. I didn't let anybody see me.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, man, because like a lot of times people paint our sports as really different, and they're really not. I mean, they're different.
It's similar. I think big air and slopestyle is definitely way different, but big air, it's like we take a lot from each other for sure.
Well, it's just like it's the same thing where it's like one jump, one moment, 7 seconds of your life.
It's insane.
And it's not, I think that's what makes slopestyle a little different is like similar to moguls. It's a whole run.
For sure.
And like you can kind of get caught up at any point. But with big air and with aerials, it's 7 seconds and you believe the whole way until it doesn't go.
But also their format, like, so what typically is your guys' format for a World Cup?
2 of 3.
2 of 3?
So you have to do a forward trick and so let's just say a forward right trick and then either a forward left trick or switch trick. So it's like you have to do 2 and they have to be different directions.
But you have
that's where it
runs?
gets different. Yeah.
3 runs for qualies and for finals?
Usually some qualies are 1 of 2, but now a lot of them are 2 of 3.
Because that's kind of wild. Because dude, our 1 jump qualies, 1 jump finals, 1 jump super finals. So
If you mess up any of them, you're done.
Dude,
That's insane. Yeah.
But that's not really. That's why we honestly switch more towards the free skiing format and the big air format in the Olympics and World Championships.
Is it
But then
1 of
also,
2?
It's 1 of 2 in qualies for the Olympics, and then it's 1 of 2 in finals, and then it's just 1 jump for the win.
But
That's
then also
so nice,
during
actually.
X Games, don't you guys have? Isn't just timed?
It's different.
It's a session like.
They say it, but they tell you you're gonna get 5 jumps, like guaranteed.
Yeah, so it's jam sesh, but it's kind of like not.
I don't know why they even do that. They should just do 1 of 5. But
I feel like it's just because like
it's exciting.
for the crowd.
you
Yeah, it's
know,
like let's try and
fun to watch
squeak
the
one
timer.
more
Yeah,
in, you
yeah.
know,
Exactly.
for the crowd.
X
So-
Games is weird because they did a 1 of 3 format and then they did a 1 of 2 format. So
Dude,
it's just-
I want in on X Games. I've always wanted in on X Games. I know we're not quite right for it,
I
but
think it's different, but
I've always
I don't
wanted
know.
it.
Well, dude,
X
I think-
Games. I think it's coming to Park City next year.
Dude, I
Really?
think.
I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that.
Well, I've heard that though. I have heard that.
Hey, if our podcast grows to the point that we're breaking news, I'll call it a win for
I
sure.
think it is coming
But
to
like
Park
now,
City.
the CEO of X Games is Jeremy Bloom.
Yeah, that's what somebody was telling me is like possibly moguls, possibly aerials.
Well, dude,
like, you
and I
never know
think
with
that
him.
we could also change our format to be more X Games friendly, where it's like we do more of a jam format, where it's like, yo, you get 3 jumps, you can throw whatever you want, and we will score whatever you throw.
I'll
kinda.
throw three quint attempts right in a row
Yeah,
and
just go
I'll
crazy.
promise to fall.
You will see some, like, if we do that type of format, dude, you're going to see people hucking their shit,
gosh.
and you are 100% going to see
That
some
would be
slams.
insane if they actually had aerials, moguls, and slope.
Well, I think that, like, to get aerials into X Games, we'd need to change our format. Like, the way that we go about it would not really work with, like, the X Games mold, kind of. But
Like,
we,
why do you think that is?
just because the 1 jump, like,
Isn't
so
as exciting.
structured, like, where it's like, we don't know what you're going to do when you're going down. But,
Yeah.
like, you know what you're going to do.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, we call our tricks, and, like, they announce what we're going to do
Oh.
beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
So it's like, we'd have to, like, kind of change that up where it's like, all right, is he going to go, like, is he going to go hurricane? Is he going to go 2-1-2? Like, it would be
Well, and
kind of,
here's
like,
the
different.
thing. This is where I'm kind of going back to the chicks a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Because aerials for men, you could make a case like, well, it's basically big air. You guys are right on us as far as like flips and twists and things like
It's
that.
just kind of crazy to think about that. Like we've even gotten like close to you guys. You know, like it is crazy to think there is like a cap. You know,
And I think you guys will find that you'll reach that cap.
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Definitely.
I mean, it could even be a 23. That could be the cap. You know.
It's going to
I
get to a
think we'll see a
point.
25.
I would
out of
love
you
to do a
guys.
25,
I think we'll
but-
see a 25. Hey, breaking news.
That
25
would
coming.
be sick.
But
Yeah.
with the girls, right, I kind of think to some of our teammates, right, like Winter Vinecki, she'll throw a freaking triple twisting triple 777, and for females, you're not gonna see that in the X Games. And I know 10, 12 chicks that will throw that, and so I almost think like,
dude, there'll be some that
with
like
aerials men. I desperately want to get on the X Games vibe. It looks so much fun.
It's insane.
But
It's the
for the
Super
women,
Bowl.
I'm like, you guys could see some stuff that women like. It would really like raise
It
the
would
bar
push the
because
sport, yeah.
I kind of look at, honestly, I made a reel with Winner a few weeks ago where I was
know what you're talking
calling
about.
out Chloe Kim a little bit because she was
Nah,
talking
What
about-
did Chloe do?
Not Chloe. It
Chloe's
was
a
Aline.
G.
Aline Gu.
Oh, what did
Gu.
she
Excuse
do?
me. Well, she was kind of talking about how the jump was too big.
It was like
And,
it was
like-
like a joking reel where it's
Well,
like,
yeah.
you told me I have to go off.
Well,
this.
if you know Eileen, like
Yeah.
she is actually the hardest worker, like
Oh, I'm
nicest
sure.
girl. Like she is not afraid of that jump. She's just trying to like
No,
play it
dude,
out.
yeah,
She does not
for
give a
the-
fuck.
for
She
the
is
reels,
so
dude.
good. Like,
But I'm just like, it's kind of funny. We were just kind of playing off of it a little bit. But then I was like, man, like, I know a ton of chicks that would go throw stuff that, like,
do
in
some
X Games.
crazy
And so
shit.
I'm part of me is like, man, if anybody's listening, like, even if you just put the chicks in there, they earn it in aerials. They
Yeah.
really do because, like, they're nuts compared to other stuff. Like Ashley Caldwell, like one of our teammates, she's done, quad twisting triple backflips on
That's
snow.
crazy, man.
And, like, that was a while. That was
Dude, there were
2016.
multiple. There were what? Three? Lydia, Laura,
Yeah,
and,
2 Australians and
Yeah.
and
it
Ashley.
is crazy though. The female skiers have made such huge progress.
Dude, just
I
in the
think
past like 3 years
as
or
of
4 years,
recently,
dude.
like it's grown so much. So I think that thing with Stubai with the jump being too big, I don't think that really even comes into play now. Like
Yeah.
those
Well, that's
girls are
good.
going to be doing like crazy shit off of that. Like
Yeah, like dubs,
and it's
trips.
just crazy to see how far
And I think
they've
that-
gone actually.
give it 10 years, you're going to see girls in free skiing
you'll-
start throwing crazy
You'll
stuff.
you'll see like a trip
Like,
18.
yeah,
You'll see
for
something
sure.
insane. Yeah.
For sure. And, like, I think
Just
that's
takes
just
time.
aerials being around a little longer. That's why you've seen
for
the
sure.
girls. Because,
Yeah,
like,
it's-
it wasn't until, like, maybe 10 years ago that girls really consistently did triples. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like with everything. I don't know what it is with, like, extreme sports right now, but it seems like everybody's going crazy.
Yeah. It's like grown so much for sure.
I mean,
Dude, I think it's just the age of social media. You see a clip
For
and you're
sure.
like, dude, I want to go huck this.
That's
Like,
got to be that. And that's why I think like it's like a little shittier for aerials just because it's like the social media isn't like as popping, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And like where, like I don't even know where you buy aerial skis, you know? Like how do people
That's a
even
good
get
question.
into that?
Well,
Like,
we
now?
kind of we always say like free skiing is a little bit more popular, mostly because like
just more accessible.
there,
dude.
it's
You
more
go up
accessible,
to
but
your
like
park.
we don't have a ton of like basic jumps that we do. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna be an aerial skiers, because like I could take you right, and you could probably hit the triple and do like a full.
Bro,
within,
fuck
like,
that.
you
I'm
could, though. I'm telling you, you got the
a
talent.
really shitty full.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for
you
sure,
can do it,
but, like-
Cody, Cody Rodaway. Freaking,
He
he's
hit it?
dude. Yeah, he's done like full. He's done like fulls. Yeah, not on snow,
Oh.
on water, but like.
my God.
he's
Yeah,
done,
on the water ramp I'm talking.
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
on
I
snow.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is
But like, we kind of steal from other sports.
I mean,
little
every
bit.
sport does.
Where it's
I mean,
like-
we're stealing from snowboarding, you guys, moguls.
People
the whole
don't
thing.
really grow up doing aerials. They grow up free skiing. They grow up mogul skiing.
dude, I grew up
They
with
grow up
slope-
doing
slope ski.
gymnastics, and we
Yeah?
kind of steal
Yeah.
them.
That's lit.
We kind of just steal them, and we're like,
Yeah.
hey, like, you want to like straighten your body out a little bit, and then go hit a really big jump.
Yeah.
And like there, it's not something that's the developmental level and the lower level of free skiing is just so much more accessible, and it's kind of always going to be that way. But I do agree with you. Like that's kind of why Quinn and I are doing this podcast, and why it's like if, I don't know if you follow like my social, but I just try and post a lot more and like different stuff
Yeah,
like that.
you have a good social. You have a pretty good social
Yeah,
too, right?
I post pretty consistent.
But like it's
I've
just not
recently
as much
started
in the
getting into
culture of aerial skiing. It's I don't know why.
Hey, just so you guys know, I get chirped by the little TikTok kids too.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, dude.
I got like
It's good to
death
know.
threats after X Games when I won. You're ruining the sport. Like,
Dude, that's crazy to hear because it's just like it feels so centralized
no,
on the
no,
aerialists.
it's
That's
there's
crazy to hear that
a
you
lot
get
of
hate too.
There's a lot of hate, and it's usually from the people that are really bad, and I'm kind of like,
Like uninformed or bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, I
like,
feel like
you
the same
have
thing. You
no
click,
right.
Dude, yeah, you click on their profile and it's like they're doing like a 180 or like a 360.
Yeah.
Like they do it, but they just like have this misguided interpretation of
Yeah.
what the sport is or should
Well,
be.
I had a
and,
funny
like,
story. It was like 2 years ago. So I fully admit, especially for any little Groms listening, we don't have stees. We don't have stees. It's fine. Dude, I never did.
I definitely do on some of my landings, dude. Where you just ride out.
With that being said, so people comment pretty often, no stees, no stees, no stees. It doesn't bother me at all. But then people started commenting zesty. Now, wait. I didn't know. I didn't know what zesty meant.
So you're like, yo,
dude. I was like, is this some new word? Dude, like, I'm stoked about it.
And then I told him I was the one that let him know, and he was so. Oh, dude, his face was like.
I was so bummed when I found out that wasn't positive.
No, there's no way.
I don't know if I just missed zesty when it started coming along, but then like Quinn broke it to me. So I was like, dude,
I watched his face.
All these people are commenting zesty,
and I told him what it meant, and he just went like a puppy dog that you stole food from, dude.
That is unreal.
Apparently, it means it for anybody that doesn't know. I guess it means you're fruity or whatever. But I was like, I thought it was like a new word for steezy. I was like, yo, finally, like,
finally,
people. I was like, I'm getting some love, and then Quinn broke it to me. I was like, oh shit, never mind. I mean,
so sad.
I kind of like it now, though. I'm like, we're zesty, whatever.
Dude,
now I've embraced it.
I always say, like, dude, if you're commenting anything on my post, bro, any engagement is good engagement. So keep the hate coming.
You guys should play into that. You should.
Dude,
be like, this is so steezy. Like, say it on your own.
Oh, I do that. I do that pretty often. I'll be like, oh yeah, there's tons of stees in this, like, because there's not, but it's like, it's just
that's not even like the sport is not. It's supposed to do something as perfect as possible. I mean, for my sport, it's pretty much. You're trying to do something, like my sets are not perfect. Nobody sets, like when you're setting a trick, it's not perfect because that looks better to do it in a unique way.
I should know this, but what is your judging criteria on like big air? Like, is it, isn't like slopestyle like part of their criteria is literally just impression, which is like whatever the judges think it is?
Yeah, it's like whatever, like you're skiing in. There's overall impressions. Like you're skiing in, how clean you look, just like when you're even skiing is a huge part of it. Like whether you're doing pizzas coming in, hockey stops, whatever. And I think a big part of it is like going big, like amplitude is huge for big air. Huge. It's not like fully like I don't know, like they're not going to base their whole thing like you go to the bottom because they don't want to see you kill yourself. But I think it's like difficulty, amplitude, variety for slope style, but they don't really have that for big air. And then execution is like a huge one.
Well, one thing that's always like interesting for me and kind of like would infuriate me if I was a free skier, right, is like when you guys get a poor score, like when you like just like your story that you were talking about in Georgia a few years ago, you got that 91 and they did change it and they like upgraded it, but you were ready to eat that.
Yeah.
And just be bummed and be sad versus like there's still poor scoring that happens in aerials and different, different times, but like we can go right up to a judge and like talk to them about it and be like, why did you do this to me? Where did you do it? Like you can get really specific with them. And like judge sports poor scores always happen, but it would infuriate me to like not be able to know what they didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you like me?
Sometimes it's like just style, like you look shitty and you're like, you know what, like I kind of did look shitty.
You
like
didn't cap the grab and you grabbed
you
like
didn't,
right there
you didn't grab like whatever 2 inches higher. You're like, dude, like, but it does matter when it's so competitive.
Like, do you have any comps where you just come out of it like pretty pissed off because you don't exactly know why they didn't love you?
Or it's like you've executed to the level that you wanted to execute and you feel like you maybe should have placed higher?
For sure. There's been like multiple comps, but it's just when a judge sport like that, I feel like you have to make it just so perfect and so good and so far above everybody else because it can really go either way. And I feel like if you're going to win and like you have to like make it just literally perfect. Like it has to be so much better because it really, if it's close, then you can't really be mad about that.
Yeah, you're leaving room for interpretation.
For
like
sure.
you got to leave no shred of doubt when you go out there. And I was like, kind of had that happen in Lake Placid where it was like I had a few little mistakes, but I thought my score should have been higher, and then I missed out, and I was like, I didn't leave no shred of doubt. It was like unfortunate, but
So I guess it's still kind of similar, but like it's a little comforting to me, or it always has been, where like I can go like look at the scores and see exactly where they hit me, and then just be like, all right. Like one thing in aerials that they're really focusing on right now is twist timing. like when we finish the twists of
Mm-hmm.
each particular flip. And they've kind of like really started harping on it more than they ever used to. They just wanted to see, for a long time, they just wanted to see something pretty, and they might hit you on it, but like they kind of wanted to see like a pretty jump. And now they're really focusing on it, but at least you can like kind of take that away, be like, all right, I know exactly what I have to do different for the next event to like get that better score.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of still the same way, where it's like good jumps are good jumps, good runs are good runs,
Exactly.
and like they always usually, like you, Quinn, I know you were pissed about that when he was mostly pissed because, and I was pissed too, because Quinn, it was his first event back from knee surgery, and he had like done a ton of work, like really pushed to get back, and he had just done his first like double in.
No, that was the second one of the season. I did the first
like
one.
I was gonna say that day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did one in finals training, and then that was my second one on the entire season.
So like
Crazy.
and then he kind of went and stuck it and like did a nice jump. And then that was the one they didn't love him on. So I think it was a little bit situationally annoying because it was like, dude, I was trying to make my comeback event, and
I'm
you
supposed to
ruined
win
it.
this. Like,
Come on, you ruined it. But I think that in a regular event, like in the middle of the season or like not in that situation, it probably wouldn't have pissed you off because it wasn't your best one.
No, definitely not.
But
definitely not.
In this situation, it was just like, I was kind of pissed too because I was like, homie was trying to have a legendary comeback event, win the first World Cup out, and you guys ruined it. Did you not watch his Instagram?
No, it's crazy. We always have these judges meeting, and basically it's pretty pointless because at the end of it, it's like if you do it dope, you're gonna get a good score. It's kind of like they go over all this stuff, and it's like okay, so we need to do that, and they always end it off like just ski clean, grab your grabs, like be like better than everybody else.
Just
You're like,
execute.
it's just like, dude, like this is like this. We already know this. It's like do it dope.
Be better than all the best athletes in the
Yeah,
world.
just be better than everybody else. You're like, okay, cool. Like,
I'm working on that.
yeah, I'm trying. It's really hard.
But all right, I think that's a good place to wrap up, dude. It was a lot of fun talking with you,
for sure.
and since we're both going to be on the same valley and same routes, maybe we'll
That's
have to
gonna
make
be sick.
a squad trip.
Maybe
to
a
the casino.
little casino video.
Yeah, oh yeah, I like
little
that.
run.
It's legal there, guys. May not be legal here because I'm 20, but
It's Europe. It's all good.
We appreciate y'all for tuning in, and catch you on the next one.